You've probably done this already. You type, "How much house can I afford on X salary?" into Google, click one of those shiny calculators, slide a little bar around, and boom! Congrats, you can afford a $480,000 home, or $650,000, or whatever insane number it spits out. And for a second, you're like, wait, really? On my salary? I didn't think I was doing that well. Then you scroll down and see the little monthly payment section with taxes and insurance and PMI, and it's like, estimated payment $3,200 per month. And your soul says, ah, there it is. My name's Mark, and I spend way too much time thinking about this exact moment, that weird space between what lenders and calculators tell you can afford and what actually feels livable when you're the one paying the bills every month. Because the real question isn't just how much house does my salary buy on paper, it's how much house can I buy and still have a life, still save, still sleep at night. If you really get that difference, it totally changes how you house hunt, how you think about your salary, and how you talk to yourself about whether you're behind. So let's walk through it together, in normal human language, no fancy mortgage speak. The myth of your salary times X. A lot of us grew up hearing these simple little rules. You can afford a house that's about 3x your salary, or 4x, or the bank will tell you what you can afford. But here's the thing. Those shortcuts were born in a world with lower home prices relative to income, lower interest rates, and lower everything else costs than today. Now, in 2024-2025 land, doing salary times 3 or 4 can put you into house-poor territory very, very fast. Quick example. You make $100,000 a year. Salary times 3 equals $300,000 house. Salary times 4 equals $400,000 house. Depending on your interest rate, taxes, and insurance, that $400K home might push your total housing cost to $2,800 to $3,200 per month. On $100K gross, after taxes, maybe you're taking home around $6,000 per month. Rough ballpark, depends on where you live. $3,000 into the house leaves $3,000 for literally everything else. Now add food, car, utilities, student loans, maybe kids, maybe savings, hopefully. That, yeah, sure, 4 times your salary number suddenly doesn't look so harmless. So instead of a magic multiple, there's a better way to ask the question. Start with take-home pay and a monthly number. Your salary is like the headline. Your take-home pay is the part that actually matters. Let's use some simple numbers just to keep the math easy. Say you make $80,000 a year. Depending on taxes, benefits, etc., maybe you take home around $5,000 per month. Now, here's the rule of thumb I like more than any X times salary stuff. Keep your total housing cost, mortgage, property taxes, homeowners insurance, maybe HOA, to around 25 to 30% of your take-home pay. Why? Because that leaves room for food, debt payments, savings, fun, and, life. So on $5,000 per month take-home, 25% equals $1,250, 30% equals $1,500. That suggests your comfortable housing budget is somewhere in the $1,250 to $1,500 range. Not glamorous, but sustainable. Then the question becomes, given my area, current interest rates and taxes, what home price fits a $1,400 payment? Not what's the biggest house the bank says I can buy. Those are two very different questions. What the bank cares about versus what you care about. Lenders use something called debt-to-income ratio. Very rough sketch. They're usually okay if your total debt payments, house, car, loans, cards, are up to around 40 to 45% of your gross income. Notice a few things there. They use gross income, not take-home. They lump everything together and don't care if there's anything left for like food or vacations or daycare. Their job is to decide if you're likely to make the payments, not whether you're going to be happy or broke doing it. So yeah, on paper, you might qualify for a bigger house than what actually feels calm. It's like a car salesman saying you can totally afford this $800 month payment because technically the computer approved you, and ignoring the fact that you also like eating and saving and occasionally doing anything fun. You care about stress level, savings rate, flexibility if something happens. The bank doesn't. So use their pre-approval as an upper ceiling, not as a goal. If they say we'll approve you up to $550,000, that doesn't mean you should go find a $549,999 house. It might mean a $380,000 to $420,000 house is your actual sweet spot.
The other silent player: interest rates and location. Another thing that messes with how much house your salary buys is the combo of interest rates and where you live. Same $80,000 salary, totally different house at 3% interest versus 7% interest, low property taxes versus high property taxes, Midwest town versus coastal city. For example, rough math, ignoring every tiny detail, with a $1,500 a month budget for principal plus interest plus taxes plus insurance, in a low-cost area with lower taxes and maybe a 5.5% rate, you might be able to swing a $300,000 to $325,000 house. In a high-tax area or with 7% rates, that same $1,500 a month might only safely cover something like $230,000 to $260,000. So when people say a X dollar salary buys Y house, what they really mean but don't say is, in this rate environment, in this tax region, with this down payment and using these assumptions, which is unhelpful for you if you're not in that exact situation. Takeaway: don't copy someone's TikTok who says, on $70K you can afford $400K no problem, and assume it applies to your city and your debt and your rates. Plug your own numbers into a mortgage calculator with realistic property taxes and an actual interest rate. Down payment and the hidden costs. The other huge piece people skip is down payment and the other costs around the mortgage. Same salary, same home price, but 3% down versus 20% down, with or without PMI, private mortgage insurance, plus property taxes, plus homeowner's insurance, plus HOA if there is one, plus maintenance. All dramatically change the real monthly number. Let's pretend you're looking at a $300,000 house. 20% down equals $60,000, 10% down equals $30,000, 3% down equals $9,000. With 3% down, you'll probably have a bigger loan, pay PMI, and see a noticeably higher monthly payment. So you might be buying the same house, but your salary is carrying a much heavier burden every month. And then there's maintenance. Rule of thumb people throw around: plan for about 1 to 2% of the home's value per year in maintenance and repairs. On a $300,000 house, that's $3,000 to $6,000 a year. Call it $250 to $500 a month on average. You might not actually spend that every month, but roofs die, water heaters go, trees fall, stuff happens. So when people say, my salary can afford a $300,000 house, I always want to add, can it afford the actual life of owning a $300,000 house? So, how do you figure out how much house you can buy? Let's put this all together in a simple, human way. Forget the headlines, forget what's normal. Here's a more grounded process. 1. Find your real take-home pay, not your gross, what actually hits your bank account every month after taxes and benefits. If it fluctuates, average the last 6 to 12 months. 2. Decide your housing target as a percentage of that. If things are tight or you have other big goals, aim closer to 25% of take-home. If you're very stable, no debt, strong savings, maybe you're okay up to 30%, but understand that's the high side. 3. Decide how much you want to save. I like 15 to 20% of your income going to retirement, long-term investing, or big future goals. If your housing number leaves you no room for that, the house is too big for your salary. 4. Play with a mortgage calculator. Put in your target monthly payment, not the highest the bank will allow, current interest rates, an estimate of property tax and insurance in your area, a realistic down payment.
Let the payment drive the price, not the price drive the payment. 5. Reality check against your life. Ask, can my job change and I had a small income dip? Can I still carry this? If my bills jump, do I have any margin? Do I still have money for actual life? Kids, trips, hobbies, rest? If the answer is only if nothing ever goes wrong, that's your sign to bring the number down. Wrapping this up. So how much house does your salary actually buy you? Not as much as the bank says, not as much as TikTok wants you to think, and not as much as a neat little 3x your income formula in a vacuum. Your salary buys a certain safe monthly payment, plus room for savings, plus room for a life that isn't constant financial tightrope walking. Once you flip the script from what home price do I deserve at this salary to what payment lets me build a stable, low-stress life and what house fits inside that, you stop playing a rigged comparison game and start designing something that actually works for you. So, after this video, maybe grab your pay stubs or banking app, write down your average take-home, multiply by 0.25 and 0.3. See what that range actually looks like, then plug those numbers into a calculator and see what price range that translates to in your city. It might be lower than you hoped. It might be freeing. Either way, you'll be making decisions based on your numbers and your life, not someone else's salary and someone else's market. And that's where good money decisions almost always start. If you want to know how to attract money and be financially free, I've left a guide in the description of this video and in the first pinned comment.